Satyabama Institute of Science and Technology.
Students, myself, Dr. Yovan Felix, working as Associate Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Satyabama Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai. Welcome to the Database Management System course. In this video, we will explore the fundamental aspects of DBMS. Let's outline what we will cover in this video. The first one, we are going to see the basic definitions. We will start with essential definitions related to database management system, such as data, information, database and metadata. Next, we will be looking into definitions and functionalities of database management system. We will dive into the definitions of DBMS and explore its functionalities, including database creation, manipulation and sharing. And then we will be discussing about properties of database. We will discuss three key attributes of database representation of real world aspects: logical coherence and purposeful design. Next, we will be briefly looking into illustration of database system environment, an overview of the database system environment involving users, programmers and the DBMS software processing queries. Finally, to understand database and its functionalities better, we will be looking into an example of university database. We will analyze a simplified university database covering student and course information to better understand the functionalities of DBMS. So, as we discussed, first we will be looking into the basic definitions in relation to DBMS. The first one is data. Data is any raw facts or unprocessed facts that you can record. For example, any numbers, name of a person, name of a place, or any kind of text, images, audio and video, etc. All this are collected as data. Next, what is information? The unprocessed facts are otherwise called as data. When they are processed to make a meaningful context, then that is called as information. Or in other words, it can say it is a processed data. For example, the age of Ben is 16. So here I take the raw facts or the unprocessed facts, process it to make a meaningful context, and that is called as information. Next, let us see what is database. Database is a collection of related data. Now, a random collection of data or data that is not related cannot be referred to as a database. It has to be a collection of related data. For example, the data in airline reservation system database has to be related to that particular airlines. Similarly, the data in hospital management system database has to be related to the particular hospital. So, this is what we call as a database. The next one is metadata. Metadata is nothing but the database definition, or in other words, I can say it is the complete description of a database, or it defines the database informations like the storage format or the data type of the data that we are going to store in the database, or the constraints on the data. All this information is called as metadata. So, these are the basic definitions. Next, let us see the definitions of database management system. Database management system is a system to manage the database, and here managing could be either storing of data or retrieval of data from the database. Now, let's look into the proper definitions of database management system. Database management system is a system, or it is a software, or I can say it is a collection of program that enables users, or that allows the users to create and maintain the database. So, this is a very simple definition. Now, let's move on to the functionalities of database management system. Database management system allows users to define the database, to construct the database, manipulate and share the database. Now, defining the database involves specifying the data type for the data that we are going to store in the database. Also specifying the structure and constraints for the data. Now, constraints is nothing but the limits on the data. For example, if I have age as the data to be stored, then I can have a constraint, say age greater than 18. So, only if age is greater than 18, then only the data can be stored in the database, so that is what we call as a constraint. The next functionality, constructing the database, is nothing but the process of storing data on some storage medium. So, when data is stored, a database is being constructed. The next functionality is manipulation of the database. Includes functions like querying the database to retrieve or to get any data that is user needs it. Also allows users to update the database, and for generating reports, the next functionality, sharing the database, allows multiple users and programs to access the database concurrently, or many users can access or share the same database at the same time in a efficient manner. So, these are the main functionalities that DBMS provides. The other functions provided by DBMS are protection of database from unauthorized access or from hardware or software failures, and also maintenance of the database for a long period of time. So, that is with the functionalities of database management system. Next, we will be discussing the properties of database. There are three properties of database. The first one is a database represents some aspects of the real world, or otherwise called as the mini world. So, anything in this mini world, the objects, their properties, the relationship between them, all that is represented by a database. And if there is any change in the real world, that changes will be also be reflected in the database. The second property is the database is a logical coherent collection of data with some inherent meaning. So, as I said earlier, a random collection of data or unrelated data cannot be referred to a database. The data in the database has to be related or logically coherent. And thirdly, a database is designed, built and then filled with data for some purpose. Next, let us look into an illustration of database system environment. So, here we have the users or the programmers who writes queries or programs, and these queries or programs are processed by the DBMS software, and then based on the processed queries, DBMS software access the stored data in the database. That is, it access the stored database as well as it is access the metadata. As we have already seen, metadata is the database definition. So, this is a simple illustration of a database system environment where users write their queries and it is processed by a DBMS software, and based on the processed queries, DBMS software access the stored database as well as the metadata. As we discussed in the outlines, finally to understand the database and its functionality is better, we will taking an example of a university database that stores students and course information. So, here I have taken three tables. The first one is the student table, which holds information about the students in that university. The second table is the course table, which holds information about the course available. And the third table is a grade report table, which contains information about the grades received by the each student, as we have seen earlier the four functionalities provided by DBMS. Let us try to understand those functionalities better with this example. As we learn, defining the database involves specifying the data type, structures and constraints for the data that we are going to store in the database. So, here specifying the structure of each record means specifying the different type of data elements present in that particular record. So, here we have three records: the student record, the course record and the grade record, and these columns are called as data elements. In each record, now specifying a data type. For example, for student name, I can say the data type should be a string of characters. For a data element roll number, I can say the data type should be an integer, and so on. We have already discussed what a constraint is. I can give you a constraint on the student name saying that student name cannot be null. So, this is all about defining the database. The next functionality is constructing the database, which is nothing but storing of data. So, once data is being stored, database is being constructed. Then we saw database manipulation as the next functionality, which involves querying and updating the database. Examples of querying would be listing of all the students in the CSE branch in the university. or listing the grades received by the particular student in each course. And then we saw sharing the database, where this particular database can be shared by many users at the same time in an efficient manner. So this is a very simple example of a database that I have taken to help you understand what a database is and also to understand its functionalities. With this, we conclude this video, hoping you have gained a solid understanding of the basic introduction to DBMS. Thank you for your attention.